KSCU Santa Clara presents Robots Attack. Movies, TV, video games, comic books, tech stuff, news, music. If it is geek, it's on Robots Attack. Participate in the show by commenting on Facebook, tweeting them at RobotsAttackMe, emailing the show robotsattackshow@gmail.com. Now, Robots Attack.
That's right. Welcome back to Robots Attack here on KCU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the Underground Sound. I'm back. I was absent last week, but it was an awesome show, despite some technical difficulties that we had.
No technical difficulties at all.
It was awesome. I learned that someone is rooting for measles, and dessert food was brought up a lot. I'm curious, did you guys end up eating afterwards? Because you kept talking about food, and we're like,
maybe a little.
Making me hungry.
Yeah, we might have gone for dinner afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you were making me hungry. I was listening. I was like, oh, man.
That was our community service message to people
Nice.
that needed to be hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you listeners out there were hungry as well and maybe had an appreciation for measles. I don't know.
Only underdog measles.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Only underdog measles, right.
Which is the only measles, I think. I'm not sure.
At this point, it
Right.
might be, but it's hard to say.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a fantastic show. And
Cool.
but we're back, full crew this time. Although, I mean, you sort of had a full crew last week.
Yeah, we had all the seats filled.
Yeah, you had a regular sort of special guest
Mm-hmm.
Right.
on from last week. So definitely check it out. If you
good supplemental DJ.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, she does a very good job.
Yes,
It's always a pleasure to have her on the show.
indeed.
But yeah, if you want to check out last week's show, maybe you didn't get a chance yet, just hit up robotsattack.me and you can listen on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we've got a fine show for you tonight. We're back in full force. We got the new releases, the news, geek talk, the core, all the stuff you're used to. And if you are unfamiliar with our show, we are a geek-centric talk show here on KSU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the Underground Sound. We talk about movies, entertainment, video games, comic books, tech stuff, robots,
Science, astronomy,
all
the kinds of
food sometimes,
it's sort of
and
like,
drinks.
Geek culture crosses a lot more bounds than you might expect.
Yes,
and we're
it's
helping you understand how this works.
It's a lot wider than it
Mhm.
used to be back in the 80s, per se. Let's
Yeah,
say.
the perception of geek is actually kind of it's now
It's no longer your Revenge of the Nerds
yes,
nerd.
yes,
It's now hip to be,
Square.
somewhat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
yes, Huey Lewis. And the news reference there for you.
Mhm.
Woo! Don't change the station. I promise it's going to be good. Speaking of not changing the station and being like, man, that show and those guys sound like they're having a ton of fun. I wish I could be a part of that. Caleb, how can they do that?
Well, there are numerous ways to do it. Two of the best ways are Facebook and Twitter. We have those open right now. You can do Robots Attack, facebook.com/RobotsAttackShow, and that will take you straight to our Facebook page. Or you can find us on Twitter. We are Robots Attack Me, all one word. And then there's a ye old email, which is robotsattackshow@gmail.com. And then, as Joe mentioned earlier, robotsattack.me is the one place to rule it all. It's got all links to all the things we've talked about, including a form there if you want to email us to the website or leave a comment on past episodes, listen to past episodes. The more you interact with us, the better this show is for you, and we love it when you do. So
Yes. Makes it interactive. It's the future. Be a part of the future and everything like that. Speaking of the future,
the future is now.
yes, new releases. We like to kick off the show with new releases, and I'm going to tell you just a select amount of movies dropping in the theater this week. First off, we have Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, A growing nation of genetically evolved apes led by Caesar is threatened by a band of human survivors of the devastating virus unleashed a decade earlier. They reach a fragile peace, but it proves short-lived as both sides are brought to the brink of a war that will determine who will emerge as Earth's dominant species. Don't let the title spoil Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I would put my money maybe on the apes. But
Just saying.
yeah, who knows?
Or the planet, possibly.
There you go.
The
Maybe
planet's definitely a safe bet.
M. Night Shyamalan taught us the happening. The planet can have its revenge. Speaking of revenge, Rage. Paul Maguire, played by Nicolas Cage, is a respectable businessman and loving father living peaceful life until his violent past comes back to haunt him. When his teenage daughter is taken from their home, Paul rounds up his old crew to help him find her. His search for justice leads Paul down a dark and bloody path of revenge, betrayal, and long-buried secrets.
Ooh.
Maybe they'll find out he was once Ghost Rider.
And then they'll be enraged because those movies are terrible.
Then we have Boyhood, filmed over 12 years with the same cast. Check this out, all right? Richard Linklater's Boyhood is a groundbreaking story of growing up as seen through the eyes of a child named Mason, who literally grows up. Now, this is the proper use of literal.
Yes.
He grows up on screen before our eyes, starring Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette as Mason's parents and newcomer Lorelei Linklater as his sister Samantha. Boyhood charts the rocky terrain of childhood like no other film has before and is both a nostalgic time capsule of the recent past and an ode to growing up and parenting. So yeah, they filmed this kid actually growing up, literally growing up. So even just kind of on that, I'm sort of interested just to kind of see, because usually when in a movie it's like when they have flashbacks or they do a part like beginning of the movie or something like oh, he's the kid, and then it grows up, it's just they got a different actor. Sometimes maybe they'll find an actor that
looks kind of like
it. Sometimes not so much. Usually it's like, well, this kid doesn't really look like the person, but they're a decent enough actor, so
they can carry the character.
that's we'll take that over the looks. But yeah, that should be interesting just kind of on that aspect. It's sort of not as the same, but a film you guys mentioned last week, the disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, kind of how they're having 3 different movies from different perspectives and stuff. So it's kind of interesting, some of these movies that are coming out from little different takes on growing up or relationships, like different perspectives.
Or
and
what
stuff.
a movie is.
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger thing is that we're really, now that movies have been around for this long, we're starting to actually play with the idea of what a film is. And what does a movie look like? It's like, how do you make one? It's like, well, you can kind of do a lot as long as you've got people that are willing to participate long enough with it. Like, this project took 12 years to complete. That's impressive on a lot of levels.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if there's film quality shifts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. Now, before we get to Blu-rays and DVDs, we've got another PSA.
Okay. Are you interested in free radio time? KSU loves to broadcast announcements about local nonprofits and government agencies. Email traffic at ksu.org with information and on services and upcoming events, and we will consider making an announcement for your organization.
Whoa.
It works,
Very cool.
people. I did it. I got a PSA in here. So if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it.
The chances are high. Yeah.
Yes, because I'm a simple man, as many people know. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Exactly. All right, so from now we move into our DVDs and Blu-rays. These are a small selection of what's come out this week. There's Watermark on Blu-ray and DVD. Water is the one thing we cannot live without. This film examines our relationship to it and how it affects the whole world. The film ties together stories from all over the globe with stunning imagery and beautiful camera work. And a vast departure from that, we go to Bad Words on Blu-ray and DVD. 40-year-old man finds a loophole in the Golden Quill Spelling Bee rules that will allow him to compete against 8th graders. While the reporter seeks to uncover the motivation, parents, judges, and other contestants are incensed. The man finds an unusual friend in one of the young contestants who seems unfazed by his unorthodox methods and philosophy. And then we got The Raid 2
Oh,
on Blu-ray and DVD. In the wake of the events of the first Raid film, Rama must now go undercover. His mission is to link a local mobster to the corruption in the police force. But will he be able to keep his personal feelings in check to get the mission done, or will his vendetta bring everything crashing down? This is getting a fair amount of fan praise as a fantastic action film. Then there is Maiden Trip on DVD. That's all one phrase, Maiden Trip. Anyways, 14 years old, Laura Decker. She has a
Let's go with Decker.
Accomplishes something amazing. She became the youngest person to circumnavigate the world alone. This film uses footage from Decker herself as she traveled for 2 years to accomplish this feat.
Okay, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was all over the news for a while because
Yeah.
like the government was like, wait, no, we can't send a 14-year-old on a trip by herself on a voyage around the world. They were like, people, but
Yeah, I think I remember people were like, well, what were their parents thinking? Like,
Mhm.
is this child abuse or is this like,
Right.
yeah.
so there you go. And in another vast departure from the previous and previously mentioned DVDs, there's Nymphomaniac Volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah,
Blu-ray,
that's different.
it's on Blu-ray and DVD this
Hopefully
week.
unrelated.
Well,
Yes.
I don't. Yeah. A young woman
It's a
named
whole
Joe.
different trip around the world.
Hey-oh.
Hey, good night, everybody.
Yeah.
A young woman named Joe is found in an alleyway by a kind older gentleman. While caring for her injuries, Joe, a self-diagnosed nymphomaniac, tells the strange story of her life, looking for meaning and love. This film is trying to be a frank and artistic look at the passions that drive us in the face of a universe that doesn't care, which is a fancy way of saying this is not for younger audiences or those that are offended by graphic sex or nudity. Do not get that.
Yeah.
Watch those if you have any sort of squeamishness about this, because this may even test those who are not squeamish about it.
Yeah, don't let the name fool you. Nymphomaniac. It's not about cuddly little animals or something.
You will be tested.
In case you were
What's
uncertain
going
about the
on?
name, let me just lay it out there for you.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
Mhm.
Gotta warn the folks. I don't know if did I introduce us? I don't know if I did.
I think we may have bypassed that part.
Anyway,
so let's go around.
those sultry tones you just heard were Caleb, and of
Yes.
course the
Jason.
others, Jason and Joe. Just in case.
We're all
Just
here.
in case. I mean, for the people who already know, they know who we are. But
Right.
just in case you're
Mhm.
listening for the first time, you're like, who's
Who?
that?
Exactly.
All right, so
He
moving
has a nice
from
voice. We should call him up. Or
Yeah,
hang out with them.
Yeah,
The,
don't
the
call.
only non-robots in the Robots Attack organization is us.
This is us.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
Right.
The robot lets us do stuff
Mhm.
because
Right.
it's too lazy to finish its job and taking over the world.
It's doing other things.
Yeah. That's it.
Priorities.
Anyway, so from Nymphomaniacs to video games, we've got number one. This might have been mentioned last week, but apparently it's dropping this week. But I'm not sure. Mousecraft.
Mhm.
It's supposedly it's dropping this week for PS3, PS4, Vita, and PC. It's a puzzle game where players help mice in their relentless quest for cheese by stacking the world's most famous blocks. Tetrominos. Your goal is to lead a group of these mice through a machine to find the cheese at the other end. There are over 50 levels in the campaign mode, and as you play, the path and methods of getting to the exits become more and more complicated. And if your brain isn't turned into Swiss cheese after going through this machine, Mousecraft includes a fully featured level editor to design your own stages.
Ooh.
Then we have, I do believe this one was mentioned last week, One Piece Unlimited World Red, dropping on your PS3. Doesn't look like PS4. Vita, Wii U. Wii U's getting another game.
Hey.
And the 3DS. So we've got Luffy and his crew go wild in One Piece Unlimited World Red. There's a shock. Witness the strongest pirate alliance as Straw Hat Luffy and Trafalgar Law, don't know who that is, a member of the Royal Seven Warlords of the Sea, okay, team up to challenge the diabolical Don Quixote do Flamingo, who will be joining the battle for the first time.
Ooh.
You know that. Yeah.
No. But I do like One Piece. I think it's very cool. But I'm unfamiliar with those people because I'm not that far in the series. Then we have, which dropped a few weeks back on Xbox, but now is landing on PS3 and PS4. Another World, the 20th anniversary edition. Then we have this week, which I'm very excited for. I'm happy that it's getting excellent reviews. The Wolf Among Us Episode 5, Cry Wolf, dropping on your 360, your PS3, your PC, and your iPad. I'm excited for it, but also sad because then that means the season has ended. I'll have to wait longer. But then that means Tales from the Borderlands and Game of Thrones are closer.
Yes.
Then we have last, but certainly not least, Might and Magic Duel of Champions Forgotten Wars for the 360 and PS3. And, just in case you don't know, the special Super Turbo edition of Guacamelee dropped on the Xbox One and the 360. And if you happen to be a gold member and own an Xbox One, it's free.
Yeah, grab it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Already played it.
It's fun.
Right on. Cool. So from games to comic books.
Comics.
Over on from DC, it's Grayson, #1.
Grayson.
Fully out of the shadow of the bat, Dick Grayson is now doing his own thing as a secret agent.
Secret Agent Dick Grayson.
Man.
Oh, man. It's not Robin. This is not Nightwing. This is Grayson.
This is Grayson. Agent Dick Grayson.
Then across town, it's from Marvel
Richard,
Studios.
perhaps?
He might be going by Richard now that he's fully grown.
Right.
And
Call
not,
me Dick. Grayson. Secret Agent.
Man.
All right, so
Caleb's like, shut up. I'm trying to do the new release.
from Marvel, it's Spider-Man 2099 #1. Miguel is stranded in 2014, but this gives him a chance to eliminate Alchemax before it becomes the juggernaut. Of the future. It is. If only it was that easy, though. Miguel will have to face the Adjuster, who desires to eliminate Miguel forever.
No.
Is he an insurance agent or?
He probably.
I'm sorry, an insurance adjuster.
He corrects the time stream, so I don't think it's quite the same.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, is he like Time Cop?
Possibly.
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Is it?
The
Is the
muscles from
character
Brussels.
modeled after Jean-Claude Van Damme?
With
No,
the
no,
mullet
yet.
and all?
I haven't picked up this issue yet.
Oh man!
But it is being written by Peter David, who created the character in the first place and was pretty much the driving force behind why it was still good even when the art kind of fell off a cliff.
He created Time Cop.
Punch.
Yeah. No, yeah, I like Spider-Man 2099. I remember when it came out the first time and picked it up and stuff.
Yeah, I got in. I remember when I first got into it, I'm like, this is really cool. So then IDW has a new release. It's Star Trek #35. This brings one of the greatest Trek villains together with the crew of the original Enterprise. And this 6-part story, Kirk meets Q.
Oh, that was gonna be mud.
It was bound to happen.
That would be an interesting change of pace. Over here on the West Coast from Image, it's The Walking Dead #129. It's The Walking Dead. Doesn't really need a description, but in this case, it seems that when there's no End of the Dead in the streets, people start to get creative in how they deal with them.
Ooh, Secret Agent Dick Grayson's on the case.
Probably.
Something
Probably.
like
Crossover.
Ooh, yeah.
that. And then from Dark
Like it.
Horse, this one's sort of near to personal choice. It's Usagi Yojimbo, Color Special Artist one-shot. It collects 4 classic Usagi stories into one colored edition. These stories are Saya, Bunturi, the artist, and Cut the Plum, which was got a fair amount of acclaim when it came out. Plus, it has a preview of the upcoming Usagi Yojimbo Senso #1, which is either a new story or a spinoff. I'm not sure which.
Oh, okay.
But new Usagi, so.
I saw, sort of speaking on that,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Facebook, some sort of either a like or a link that you shared or something
Yes.
about. Was there some?
Yeah, so what happened is it turns so Usagi Yojimbo's creator Stan Sakai, like most people in the industry, while he's not starving, he's not necessarily fabulously rich, and his wife is recently was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh,
And so a group of other artists have gotten together to create original artwork based on Usagi Yojimbo, and they're auctioning it off through eBay to raise funds to help defray the costs of his wife's medical treatments. So
Nice.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, maybe we can throw a link to that on our page or something.
Yeah,
during,
definitely can do
during
so.
the music break.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so moving from cancer, unfortunately, to music, new releases.
There you go. Better
we-
than cancer.
True.
Here's hoping. We've got a new album from Bright Light called Life is Easy. The second full-length studio release for the Welsh synth pop singer Rod Thomas features a duet with Elton John.
Oh, okay.
Then we've got a new album from Braid called No Coast. The first full-length studio release from the emo band in 16 years was produced by Will Yip. Then we have a new album from Manic Street Preachers called Futurology. The 12th full-length release for the Welsh alternative rock trio was recorded at the same time as 2013's Rewind the Film and features guest appearances from, Cyan Ciaran, Green, Gardside, Nia Haas, and Georgia Ruth. Then we have a new album from Judas Priest, Redeemer of Souls. The 17th release for the British metal band, led by Rob Halford, is its first without founding guitarist KK Downing. And then last but not least, the Proper Ornaments, new album Wooden Head, the debut release for the indie pop quartet that includes Veronica Falls, James Jorge, Max Claps, Daniel Nellis, and Robert Simph. Was recorded on a reel-to-reel 4-track.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. Just a sampling of some new releases for this week. Let you all digest all that and check out some things. And, of course, go to our Facebook page, Robots Attack Show. Hit us up on Twitter,
Robots Attack Me.
And, of course, the homepage, robotsattack.me, where all that stuff is. So you can do all of that, check all that stuff out while we get to the music. But before that, we're going to tease you some of the news stories we're going to talk about after the music break in the news segment, just to give you a little taste, something to keep you coming back for more Robots Attack. What do we have, gents?
Something that looks like it's reuniting the original cast of Alien.
What? Aren't they all dead? The
No.
alien killed them and stuff? How's
Well,
that possible?
The
Well-
cast, not the crew. Didn't.
Oh,
There you go.
nice. All right.
Still cool.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Mm.
Well, if you were completely and totally intrigued by Frozen Smoke, aka aerogels, there came up, and people came up with something even stronger and just as light. So I'm going to inform you all about that.
Ooh,
Material
nice.
science.
No,
Nice. See,
I bring the material science.
you do, and you bring it well.
Mm.
But see, that little sample there is just what this show is all about. If you're unfamiliar, just a broad range of wacky, crazy stuff that is very, very interesting. All right,
Mhm.
let's get to some music, and then we'll be back with more Robots Attack. And remember, participate on the show, comment on the news stories, which we post on our Facebook page and Twitter.
Mhm.
All right, let's get to that music, and then back with more Robots Attack here on KSU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the Underground Sound.
Are you an animal lover who wants to help homeless animals find their forever homes, but have limited time to volunteer? Join San Jose Animal Advocates, a local nonprofit that is building a community network to help find loving, foster, and forever homes for pets in our local shelters. With your help, we can save countless animals. All it takes is a few clicks, and you can share their stories with your network of friends. It's easy. Join us at sjanimaladvocates.org or look for us on Facebook.
You're listening to Robots Attack. Follow them on Twitter at Robots Attack Me. Email them at robotsattackshow@gmail.com. Like them on Facebook. And check out the website at robotsattack.me.
News.
That's right. Welcome back to Robots Attack here on KSU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the underground sound. We are in the news on this geek-centric talk show. If you're just tuning in, it's the perfect time because we're starting the news.
All right.
And who has our first story, Caleb or Jason?
I think I have our first.
Ooh, go for it, Caleb.
As I teased earlier, the crew of the Nostromo, which was the ship from the first Alien film, is reuniting for something. What is it? What could it possibly be?
But they died. Sorry, spoilers.
No.
I was just gonna watch that too.
Hang on, I'm sorry. I really am.
No, the actors have returned to revoice their same characters in the new DLC for the new Alien Isolation game.
Please tell me, you fat Kodo. Please tell me.
His picture is listed here, and as far as I can tell, it's everyone who was there is coming back. That had significant speaking roles.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, and you guys talked about the game last week too, so
Yep.
we'll tie in. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yep, Tom Skerritt, Veronica Cartwright,
Tom Skerritt.
Harry Dean Stanton,
Picket
and
fences.
Yefet Kodo, as well as naturally Sigourney Weaver have all
Wait, who?
No.
have all said that they're on board to be a part of this, which is kind of rad.
That is pretty cool. Did they give any kind of detail of what the DLC is, or just?
It's a bonus level called Crew Expendable, where you play as Ripley, Dallas, or Parker, and you have to. Your goal is to get the alien into into a ship airlock.
Right.
And if you pre-order from, and this is a pre-order bonus. So if you pre-order the game, you'll get this. If you pre-order at GameStop, you will also get a level where you play as Ripley, and you have to navigate the Nostromo. You have to basically do the climactic final scene with the self-destruct system. So.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
They should throw in a level where you play as the cat.
Jonesy?
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
From the cat's perspective, it's all low
Right.
and everything.
Right, the cat's all freaked out, but we never really see if the alien cares about the cat at
Yeah.
all.
That's true.
There you go. Creative Assembly, if you're listening, right there.
Mm-hmm.
$1 million idea for you. Well, I don't know about a million, but
Yeah, Sego's
At least a quarter.
something.
something.
Help
Yeah,
me pay some bills. I'll be happy.
yeah. The team was pretty excited to get the stars.
Yeah,
back
that's
to
cool.
Do the thing.
They're all
on board.
interested and on
Mhm.
board. That's neat.
I wonder if the return of the original cast of Star Wars had anything to do with that also, but.
Yeah. Show that it's possible, at least. So.
Yeah.
Plus,
Nice.
a lot of these guys people have a personal piece of endearment. A part of their heart goes they really enjoy this movie. Like having all those people show up again, probably pretty exciting for a lot of movie fans,
Yeah.
game fans.
And then they don't have to worry about, I mean, I don't know how, if they're going to put them in mocap suits and do all of that, or if they're just going to do voice work, that sort of thing. Like sometimes that's an appeal to
Mm-hmm.
some older quote unquote actors. Like, well, I don't have to do too much physicality. I can just kind
Yeah.
of go in and
Do my thing and.
Yeah, I don't know, since I think most of it is going to be first person based on the things that I've read. So you might just have it so that you can see reflections, but not necessarily all of the action, acting stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
they don't really go into detail in this article about how it all plays out, but
We'll find out in October or
soon.
however long after it releases with the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go from that about star power
Star power,
to the power of science.
science power,
and material science.
Material science
Specifically.
Woo!
science.
Anyway, if you're familiar,
Love that soundboard you can play. Science,
Science.
we do need that.
yeah.
So there's kind of a wondrous material out there called aerogels that they've basically figured out how to make air that's kind of frozen. And so it's not anything to do with things that a certain character from one of the aforementioned movies might be interested in.
Oh no, I was going to say boobies, but
Oh, okay. Well, always apropos. Anyway, back to the power of science.
Science. There's science.
Anyway, so completely derailed me.
Sorry. That's my job. Woo!
Right.
Aren't you glad I'm back?
So the main strength of this is that it's still like air. You can let it sit in air and it will literally float there.
Whoa.
But it's solid. So
it's a rigid material. Like you could like press against it and it will resist pretty well too.
So it's been around for a long time. It's one of the earliest uses of carbon nanotubes, I believe. But they just trumped it lately. Somebody figured out how to basically do some pretty nifty mold making using a new type of photosensitive feedstock with a 3D printer. Now, it's arguable whether this story is all about this really nifty new tech that's all about using optics for printing, or whether it's about the material itself, because they're both pretty cool. And if you hunt down this, which we're going to be dropping on the Facebook page, it will include a video about the optics side of things. But I'm going to concentrate on the materials. So basically, by making this 3D printed lattice work out of this photosensitive feedstock, they can then coat it in really whatever they want. And so they can make tiny, tiny structures out of either metal or ceramics. And then by using heat or whatever other types of methods for removing the original plastic layer, they strip it away and all that's left is tubes of whatever material they wanted to print or to layer on it.
Oh, okay.
So it ends up making a completely engineered material. So it ends up being incredibly light and incredibly stiff because of it, because it's a tiny little building, basically. And so it's a completely new type of material and pretty clever way of putting all of this stuff together.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if what this will mean for things like air travel and or space travel, because like making things lighter but stronger is like the thing that they've been working on forever.
Yeah,
I mean, just swapping all of our metal out for aluminum allowed us to fly as much as we do, and that's quickly becoming the realm of composites, and this could be the next version of composites right here.
Exciting.
Nice. Science. So from science to this story, I was actually turned on from someone you know in particular, who may or may not have been on last week's show.
Perhaps.
This story is about San Francisco, specifically dogs in San Francisco.
Interesting.
Even more specific, the canine units.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
The streets of San Francisco just got a bit safer for the police department's canine unit. The SFPD's four-legged officers will now wear bulletproof vests, just like their handlers.
That's kind of cool.
The nonprofit group Cover Your Canine has donated the custom-fit protective gear.
I got you covered, man.
Yeah, along with medical packs for immediate care if a canine is hurt in the line of duty. Quote, "We're going to use these vests every day to keep our dogs alive," SFPD Tactical Company Canine Unit Sergeant Ron Batana said. They're similar to what our cops wear, but as you can see, they're custom fit. They say police on the side, and they're ready, available for us to put on the dogs whenever we feel the dogs are going into any dangerous type of situation. The vests weigh about 4 pounds each, but officers say the dogs don't seem to mind. Cover Your Canine uses money raised from Pet Food Express dog washing events to make the $1,500 vests and give them to canine units across the state for free. So there you go. The canine units get a little more protection.
Nice.
Get a little bit closer to Riley from Ghosts Call of Duty.
Right. Strap some cameras on him.
Yeah.
That can't be far behind with as much GoPro stuff has been passed
Yeah.
around.
But yeah, the story has a picture of a officer and the dog wearing it, and I'll
Chilling.
and I'll throw it up on our Facebook page along with the other stories. You can go and check it out, see the pictures, see the videos, and all of that stuff. So that was cool.
That is cool. So, from things that are very real to something that turns out wasn't quite as real as we thought it was.
Oh no!
Yeah. A while back.
Do I need to be wearing pants for this story?
I'm not sure, but
Weren't you already?
wearing pants is generally advised. Back in 2010, when the exoplanet search kind of started to begin in earnest, was we put the satellites in orbit, the telescopes to look for exoplanets, which is planets beyond our solar system.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
So Pluto is a myth. That's where you're going with this?
no, Pluto is a
okay.
planetoid.
Oh, okay.
It's
So it is within our solar system, though.
yes,
Okay.
it's still counted as part of the solar system.
Okay.
The exoplanets are beyond our solar system, and the first one that they thought they'd found was 20 light years from Earth, and it was also a thing that made Gliese 581G rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So exciting was they
Yes.
thought it was an Earth-like planet. That was the first Earth-like planet out there. Apparently, the data interpretation was a little bit overzealous. and
Science.
No.
It didn't quite. It wasn't what they thought it was, which is unfortunate. But on the plus side, it was pretty early in the detecting of exoplanets that this happened.
Okay.
So now we've kind of learned to accommodate some of the things that triggered this one, thinking it was an exoplanet. So
basically, they stopped letting the identifiers of exoplanets drink late into the night. Is that?
that's a good. That's a good first step.
I think I see water on there.
Ooh, it's an exoplanet. There we go.
Yeah, no, it's a little sad that it looks like that. The evidence is mounting further that this might not be quite what they thought it was. I'm sure there's still being research. There's still research whether it's completely out of the realm or not. But
Okay.
So we don't even know what it is. Really,
it looks
then.
like it might still be an exoplanet, but near as I can tell from what little I have here in front of me, but it's not an Earth-like planet, and it doesn't look like it will be supporting life as we know it.
It's funny, every time you say exoplanet, I'm reminded of like exosuits, and so I'm thinking of like Earth, like going and needing to fight a battle, and it gets into its exoplanet and rides into battle against Mercury.
And then you rode the planet through orbit? Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Well, here's something that is real. You are listening to Robots Attack, the one and only Geek Center talk show here on KSU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the underground sound. Boom, got the station ID in.
Nice.
Crap, I shouldn't have said that part.
It's okay.
So I'm going to
Ooh, can you segue from planet exosuits?
from the planetary exo something to things that are happening on this planet or slightly above
No.
the planet. Anyway, I'm sure people are familiar that there is stocking of fish happening all around the United States. And
Yeah.
that's not to say that people are out like harassing fish, but
Not that kind of stalking, right?
right. which is a problem.
Although
The fish paparazzi.
Right.
Mr. Salmon, Mr. Salmon, Mr. Salmon.
Right.
the
Needs to be
fish
stopped.
at like maybe Monterey Bay Aquarium or what's aquarium
Yeah.
are like, what are all,
I always thought they
Maybe.
need to put like mirrored glass on their side So I don't know if that would frustrate them more or less. Right, I gotta fight this
Keeps
fish.
looking at
gotta
me.
fight it.
I think the octopus would not appreciate that because then you wouldn't be able to see him coming. Like, oh no, they're all gathered up and hide in the corner.
Oh, okay.
And
Well,
you see flashes going
For
off,
the
and you're
sake
like, "Oh,
of
what's
the
going on?"
octopi, we will not do that. Otherwise, we would have totally had the power to change the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway,
Yeah.
the stocking of fish that I was speaking of is where they basically take bodies of water and they put fish in the bodies of water, and that makes fishermen happy. But it also is fairly useful for maintaining fairly low mosquito populations as well as other pests and whatnot. Well, what I didn't realize until I saw this crazy video is that they don't take a truck up to these lakes and just like pour the fish into the lake.
Some of them, but apparently this isn't all of them.
They carpet bomb lakes with fish.
You
Did
are
you know that? I didn't know this until now, and there's a video to prove it. And it's crazy.
They like B-2 bomber or B-52
No,
bombers
okay.
like drop fish out of planes into lakes.
Not quite that far. The military was not involved, best
But
I
I mean,
can
like,
tell.
but, like, you know, they open the bomb bay doors and whoop, out go fish.
Sort of. So lots of fish too. It basically
This
looks
image
like
is getting better and better in my mind.
right. The tanker planes that they use for putting out forest fires. This is what I'm guessing just by looking at this video. It looks
okay.
like they
Makes sense.
use them, fill them full of water and fish, and then they dump the fish into the lakes from a good distance up too.
Wow.
It's like at least 50 feet. If it looks higher than that. Anyway, I feel sorry for these fish because and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe they got the ride of their life, and they're like, "Yeah, do it again."
And then for the next 6 months, we're stuck here, aren't we?
Most likely.
What just happened?
I don't even know.
But yeah, I contend that you have not lived until you have seen man carpet bombing lakes with fish.
And
I humbly put forth this posit.
That is quite impressive.
and we'll have that link up at our Facebook page
Yes, momentarily.
/ Robots Attack Show, and of course we'll tweet it out as well. Robots Attack Me. Okay, so wow, all right.
Can you top this?
Well, okay. It sort of does involve flying and an animal.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm sure you're thinking to yourself like, boy, if they took a Disney movie and made it live action, you know, I'm sure you've got ones in your minds that like, oh, that's the one that they should do, right? I'm sure, Caleb,
Yeah.
you've got one that off the top of your head, you'd be like, that could work totally live
Lilo and
action.
Stitch could be a live action flick.
Oh,
Sure.
okay. There you go. I don't know. Jason, do you have one maybe off the top of your head?
He totally stole mine.
Ah, okay. Well, I won't let the title spoil it. I'll just say the story and have it be one, because it's one that I was not expecting. But
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After the blockbuster success of Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, Disney has been busy turning many of their animated classics into live-action films, most recently with the Sleeping Beauty retelling, Maleficent, and the upcoming Cinderella and the Jungle Book.
Right.
Well, now we can add Dumbo to the list.
Okay.
Beg pardon?
Yeah.
According to the
This is
Warp,
real.
screenwriter Ethrin Kruger from Transformers Dark of the Moon and Transformers Age of Extinction will script a live-action Dumbo and also produce it with Justin Springer. The site reports Kruger is expected to give the live-action remake a strong family component, which has aided the performance of Disney's other recent updates, including Alice in Wonderland and Maleficent. Even though the movie will be live-action, it seems a pretty safe bet Dumbo himself will be a CG character, at least in part.
What? No.
But, yeah, so, you know, if you are out there dreaming of a live-action Dumbo and thought that dream would never happen,
Right.
it looks like you're a few steps closer to Some of the Transformers team bringing you a live-action Dumbo.
Well, it's funny because it reminds me of another story that I heard last week that it was saying that people are speculating that all of the stuff that we've heard thus far about Batman versus Superman, minus the casting, I'm assuming, has just been stuff written by Kevin Smith to throw people off the trail of what the movie is going to actually be like.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just imagining sort of a similar sort of thing, except Disney has this crack crew of people trying to protect their top secret brands. And so to just throw people off the scent, well, live action Dumbo, that'll keep people happy for a while, right? Well, we're not going to make it, right? No.
Oh, no.
No.
I mean, I know there was Operation Dumbo Drop.
Right.
So, who knows?
Yeah. Very different than
that
live
was Bill
action
Murray,
Dumbo.
right?
No,
No?
Bill Murray was what was the name of that one? No, Operation Dumbo Drop was oh man, my brain's totally blanking out now. Never mind.
Anyway, we can let it drop.
Yeah.
We can, yeah.
We'll let that one slide. Alrighty, let's see. Well,
So segue to that.
Right.
hmm.
Another drop.
More like things that are animated
push.
coming back.
Oh, okay.
If you were on the internet early 2000s, you may have heard of a little site called Homestar Runner.
Never heard of it.
Shush you. It's and you also you might also recall that a while back it sort of went quiet. Well, the creators have decided that they want to return, and they're bringing Homestar Runner back. I guess it's sort of news, but it's mostly fun because I think it's the show. I always thought that show was quite clever and funny, and so apparently all the old crew that was working on the shows is back to do more. They're probably already working on new episodes of Strong Bad Emails, and there's some speculation that now that social media is more of a thing, they might actually play with some of the ideas of what the characters themselves would have. So like they're thinking of giving Strong Bad his own Twitter account and giving Strong Sad a Tumblr account and things like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it just sounds like they're planning on having a lot of fun with it. So,
I'm surprised fans haven't done that already, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised at that too. I think maybe I don't know why that didn't happen.
Fans of this show that I don't know exists is what I meant to say.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I guess maybe because it was just early enough in the internet boom that it didn't quite catch some of the wave of the social media creation stuff that we have nowadays. With Angelina Jolie's left leg and stuff like that. So, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we shall see. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, if you want to use more than just your left leg to travel at hypersonic 12 mile per hour speeds,
Wait a minute.
you can now use 2 legs and your feet. Anyway, somebody literally made rocket skates.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Although the rocket part of the skates is not literal.
Okay.
They
So
are
they're not
they are
rockets.
merely fast skates.
Okay. They're missile skates.
Right. They're electric powered skates. This isn't the first time that somebody's done this, by the way. But somebody is trying to push through a Kickstarter. I know, big surprise me talking about Kickstarter. It's my new drones obsession and Mass Effect and whatnot.
Take a shot.
Right. I want a Mass Effect Kickstarter. And
Take a shot.
That's a double right there.
right. So anyway, people have come up with electric-powered skates for a while now, and they've come up with some pretty nifty designs, but I think this kind of takes the cake. Not only is it way lighter than all of the other ones that we've seen so far, it seems to be a lot better powered, and a little bit better thought through in how you'd actually be able to wear them and feel halfway comfortable. So the way that it works is it actually straps around your ankle, but you're standing on a little crossbar, but you're only standing like an inch off the ground, and large, like 5-inch wheels that go all the way up to your ankles are on either side of your ankle.
Oh, okay.
And those are powered singly by 2 really powerful motors that are strapped behind your foot. So
Okay.
it allows you to balance on these 2 sets of wheels and use them the same way that you'd use the Segway scooters,
Okay.
by how you're balancing on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it automatically kicks on or off depending on the angle that your feet are at.
Huh.
So it ends up being a unique style thing that you don't have to worry about them being on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it so you have no need for remote control, which means that you can have stuff in your hands if you want to be able to hold your late coffee or late morning coffee when you're jamming down the streets of San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Or your phone, camera phone or what have you.
But yeah, it has a really interesting design. If nothing else, check it out just to see this thing, because it's like nothing else that you've probably seen if you've ever thought of skates.
Yeah, the design is pretty impressive. It is really much like someone like smashed the concepts of a Segway like onto someone's foot. Like
It reminds me of somebody put like some weird hybrid of a Segway and an electric wheelchair on each one of your heels.
Yeah, it's a pretty apt description of what it looks like. Very cool.
Which doesn't make it sound half as cool as it looks.
It's a lot cooler than that.
Alrighty, so I've got our last story of the night, and it goes from like not really rocket shoes
Right.
to like space and robots.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. Google's 3D mapping phones to help robots on the International Space Station.
Mm.
Quote, "We realized the answer was in our hands. Let's just use smartphones."
Haha.
NASA is turning to Google and its Project Tango 3D mapping phones for assistance on the International Space Station. Reuters reports that NASA will utilize the handsets to improve the synchronized position, hold, engage, reorient experimental satellites, or spheres, soccer ball-sized robots that hover slowly throughout the space station using CO2 blast for propulsion. With the help of Project Tango, the sphere's navigational capabilities will be improved thanks to the device's infrared 3D mapping technology and motion tracking cameras. Once implemented, the spheres could potentially handle some daily duties otherwise tended to by astronauts, or even tackle some tasks outside of the station.
What?
Quote, "We wanted to add communication, a camera, increase the processing capability, accelerometers, and other sensors," said Smart Spheres project manager Chris Provencher in an interview. "As we were scratching our heads thinking about what to do, we realized the answer was in our hands. Let's just use smartphones." Google first introduced Project Tango earlier this year. Potential applications provided at the time included measuring the dimensions of your home prior to purchasing furniture, providing accurate directions from within buildings, or for use with augmented reality games. The Project Tango phones will make their way to the ISS by way of a cargo spacecraft set to launch on July 11th, tomorrow.
Ooh. Fun.
So there you go. Phones helping robots help the International Space Station in space.
Science.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Well done.
And maybe they have pants.
Mm-hmm.
One can only hope.
One can only hope.
Indeed.
All right. So that's going to do it for the news.
Mm.
We're going to take another music break. But before that, we've got a PSA.
Poetic Coatings, a group exhibition that explores new relationships between art and technology, will be on view at the San Jose Institute of Contemporary Art from May 31st to September 6th, 2014. Many contemporary exhibitions have presented code-based works. However, Poetic Coatings is the is one of the first to juxtapose wall-based works with those made for mobile devices. For more information on this exhibition, please visit www.sjica.org.
Nice. Mobile, the phones, mobile thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I planned it. I actually didn't. I just randomly selected that PSA. But I'm glad it worked out.
Indeed.
All right, we're going to take a music break and then come back with some geek talk. Don't forget, it's not too late to comment and participate on the show and on some of the stories. Caleb, how can they do that?
Well, if you wish to participate, you can comment on our Facebook page, Robots Attack Show, facebook.com/Robots Attack Show, or you can hit us up on Twitter. Our handle is Robots Attack Me, all one word. And then finally, you can always find us on email, robotsattackshow@gmail.com. And of course, the one place to get everything about us, robotsattack.me.
That's right. All right, let's get to that music, and then we'll be back with more Robots Attack here on KSU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the Underground Sound.
Have you ever wanted to be a DJ? If you're at least 18 years old, KSU can make your dreams come true. Email KSU's training director at training@kscu.org for more information.
You're listening to Robots Attack. Follow them on Twitter at Robots Attack Me. Email them at robotsattackshow@gmail.com. Like them on Facebook. And check out the website at robotsattack.me.
Alrighty, welcome back to Robots Attack here on KSU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the Underground Sound. We are now in Geek Talk. This is where we get personal.
Yay!
And just kick back and talk about some stuff we've done, seen, and all that jazz. Caleb has some stuff he wants to get off his chest.
Yeah, I've been watching sort of off my chest. I've been catching up on some anime stuff on Netflix, like because their selection is expanded quite a bit.
Yeah, they're getting more and more.
Yeah.
And not just like really, really old stuff. Like
Yes.
actually some semi-new-ish.
Yeah, like one of the most recent ones that I watched two that were pretty recent. Or I'm in the middle of watching ones. Anyways, Sword Art Online is on there, and that one's
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that one.
maybe a couple years old, so it's like pretty recent. And same with Fate Stay Zero, which is the one I'm watching right now, which is okay. But I was watching specifically, like, I keep thinking about Sword Art Online because like part of that show makes my brain just like ache trying to figure out like what it is, what happened to the show, because like it feels like two shows.
Oh, okay.
Like there's one half of the show which like the basic premise of the show is that
That's already very meta.
it's a pretty meta show, quite honest. The basic premise is that there's a group of people joined up for this game, which was a virtual reality system that also hooked up into the brain, kind of like it's like the Matrix, but instead of being like the world as we know it, it's a fantasy world. And it's
Nothing can go wrong there.
Nothing can possibly go wrong there, except for the fact that if you're hooked up into the system and you're locked in and you die in the game, you die in the real world. So there's
That's just a myth, though.
Possibly, unless you're Neo, unless you're the one, in which case,
Right.
But like in that part of the show, like the first like 13 or so episodes, they're all. I feel like they were handling the situation fairly smartly. Like there's people trying to figure things out. Like there's a bunch of very distinctly anime aspects, tropes, if you will, that crop up during this in it. But it's not like so many or so much that you're like, this isn't really well done. It's just kind of like
There's too much anime in my anime.
Yeah, there's a little too much anime in the anime. This one had a nice dose of like anime, but it still was like it was doing something kind of new in certain ways. Like certain aspects I thought were better handled than most. Like they actually dealt with like the human relationships better than I've seen most of these kinds of shows do. And like they actually had a decently interesting female protagonist, lead character, along with the male lead character. They thought they had a pretty decent like overall relationship, and like the characters themselves were pretty interesting. Although the male lead was is occasionally excessively too samurai for my taste, but He's Japanese. He's the
he has
hero.
like long hair, or the way he dresses, or
No, the attitude, like the way they
too
portray him.
noble.
They portray him like there's no fault in him, so he's unbelievable. But they also carried it off fairly well because
Unbelievable.
he does have moments of doubt, so he's not like completely invulnerable. But it's just like, I don't know. At times, like all the girls like this guy. Why? Oh, because he's a samurai. Okay, yeah, okay, move on.
Okay.
But so like I was enjoying it. Like I thought the ending was a little bit abrupt, but it was still satisfying. Like the shows that like they.
So you have finished. You finished.
I finished watching this whole show. Like get to the
an episode or the series?
The whole series. I finished the whole series.
Okay.
And if you get to the end of the first half, you're like, okay, it wasn't the villain wasn't the most satisfying villain, but the story still ends pretty well. The characters you want to see survive. Not really a spoiler.
Spoilers.
It's not really a spoiler.
It's true. I usually want different ones to survive than most people. So,
but the lead male character, like you fall in love with the lead female, and like the last show segment of the show, like he's getting up out of his hospital bed because he's been on IV drip, and like he's like going out in the world to find her. You're like, all right, I thought that was the end of the show. Then there's another episode after. I'm like, oh, okay. And when we get into the second half of the show, it's almost like it was written by a completely different group of people.
Okay.
Almost, it feels because like they started like.
So
is this in the real world, or is this
in the second half of the show is a mix of real world and fantasy world because the game like got ended, but like they made a revision of they revisioned it, and it's not as deep the players can't be locked into the game anymore.
Okay.
Like they made safeguards and stuff like that, but like they created a villain character who is like every stereotype of a villain that you could think of. Like he's evil business guy. He's abusive emotionally and threatens physical abuse on the lead female character.
Typical.
He's lecherous, and like his whole thing about her is that he's like she is his possession effectively.
Okay.
And you're just like you hate him, but it's not like you don't hate him because he's like a bad guy. You hate him because they've created this creature which is hateful and not like
it's just not very interesting.
Not very interesting. Like he's like all these stereotypes of a bad guy. So he's the bad guy, but you don't care really that he's the bad guy in certain ways.
Okay.
And then they take this reasonably, I thought a pretty well developed, strong female character and lock her in a cage for pretty much for 95% of the second half of the show.
Jeez.
I'm like, what the heck? And then they introduce like the main lead male's sister, which is sister in quotes. She's like she like is adopted, I think.
Does she at least become like a stronger character to take the place, or she's
not bad, but like she is like almost every visual anime trope there is. Like her boobs are too big. Her for her size, for the rest of her, like for being, and that's being like
that's
like
very
15,
judgmental.
Like 14 or 15, like it's like
she has a problem, sir.
The problem is that she was written by a totally different cast of people. It felt like, then they start like throwing in like very classic like anime like fan service jokes.
Okay.
And like they're bad fan service jokes where it's like, wow, you went with that particular fan service joke. Why?
And this is after they've crafted something unique and new.
After
and
they've done something
good,
like that,
right?
I thought was pretty good. Like it wasn't the most original, but like they did some interesting things with like a common theme.
Okay.
And then they do this, and it's all of the stuff that you would quote unquote expect of an anime show is like crammed into this half, and just like, what happened to this show? Like, I don't hate it, but it's not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Not that I signed up for, but it's not. It's not why I started watching it. What goes on with this? I just was like, I'm mystified when I think about like how different the two halves of this season are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's almost like I don't. Jason, I'm talking about this with Jason yesterday, and he was like, it said to me like it almost felt like someone like higher up in the creative department started like giving the directors notes, like saying, no, we need more anime. We need this aspect
okay.
to like bring up ratings or improve. So it's almost like they were trying to like
salvage it,
fix
somehow.
it somehow, and it didn't need fixing, in my opinion.
Was there like a notice visually as well, as far as like
No,
art
the animation
style, or
team,
has it
near as
stayed
I can
the same?
tell, is
Okay.
very like the art style was fairly consistent. I think the second half wasn't nearly as rich as the first half, but it
This was
wasn't.
by Clamp, you said, right?
No,
Oh, no, that's right.
that was Blood Sea, which I also watched, and that was also not very good. But that's a different issue entirely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just so confused by this show. Like, yeah, on one hand, I kind of like it, but I have a hard time like recommending it to people because I'm like, just watch episodes
Because of
1
that.
through 13 and then stop.
Yeah.
So we don't know for sure if like the writers or
I don't-
whatever
yeah, 'cause
actually did change after that point.
Yeah, I
or
can't tell.
it
I'm
just-
sure
Right
this-
now, it just kind of feels.
it just
like
feels like there was this weird like
tonal
chop.
shift.
Yeah,
as
it was
well,
weird.
just or is it?
Yeah, there's
pretty
a
consistently?
fairly distinct tonal shift. Like all the female characters became like stereotypical female characters, except for the sister. She's not as bad, but there's like, I don't know.
Does like the humor or the
Some of the humor remains, but it's there is a higher chance. There's a larger penchant of cheap jokes that get thrown in, and like
in the,
dumb
in the second
in
half.
the second half, the dumb things that happen that are just inexplicably added in for no
Okay.
reason other than it's
Did it
no,
feel more like more serious in the first half versus second, or switch, or anything like that as
the
well?
first,
or
I mean, the first half is considerably more serious, partly because there was the threat of death for all the characters,
Mhm.
and so there's always that. In the second half, like it's much lighter because there is no longer the threat of death
okay.
for any of the characters like that. And I think maybe that was the major tonal shift. Like since they don't no one really dies, like they didn't feel the need to write better characters. I was like, I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
Maybe.
they're working on another season of it. I saw that online somewhere.
okay.
So I don't know what. It's apparently popular enough that it got a second season, but I'll probably check it out. But it's just so strange, like how much like to me the show changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's still fun to. It's the first half is actually pretty good. I would definitely, if a personal recommendation, I think that was pretty good. Second half is
you
like,
need like an recommended expiration date / last episode that people should watch.
yeah, it's around episode 13. You know, it's a 12, 13, like between, I can't remember if it's 24 or 30 episodes series.
It sounds like the episode that you get when the character like gets up and heads off to find.
Right.
a
Yeah, when
certain person,
you
like,
see him like walking out of his hospital room, stop there.
That's
like,
a good ending.
That could
yeah.
be.
Like that was it's kind of like Cowboy Bebop. It's the ending. It doesn't tie up everything. Not everything is resolved, but it's a satisfying ending. You can like, okay, I can see where this is going. I know I can feel satisfied with this ending. And then they make an actual ending. I'm like, wow, that was only
Yeah.
not a fan.
Well, I guess that's too bad, but still, like, sounds like there's
Yeah.
enough at least worth checking out for a bit to see if you like it enough.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just wondering if that should be like a regular thing for us. Recommended anime ending.
Well, the one thing with that is that with some anime, it takes like a few episodes to actually like kind of sometimes get them rolling.
Yeah.
Like you
Mhm.
might at first, like maybe the first 3 episodes or something, like, no, wait.
It gets better.
Once it hits that 5th episode, you're on board. Like
Mhm.
it takes a little bit. Like there's some series that are kind of like that, but yeah, that would be interesting to go back and kind of see like, yeah, this one could have stopped right there, and that's
Yeah.
man. But
Blood Plus could have stopped about 20 episodes before and been much better for it.
cool. All right, now I think that'll do it
Yeah.
for Geek Talk. That's well, I threw up a little link for the actual anime, the wiki page and stuff like that. So
Sweet.
you can go and check it out and see. And if you've Watch the show yourself out there. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with Caleb where he says the show should have stopped, or that the tonal shift was a little awkward and strange, or do you completely disagree and be like, no, he's crazy, I loved it, and all the blah, blah, blah. Let us know. Caleb, how can they do that?
If you want to contact us, you can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/robotsattackshow, or you can go to Twitter, which is robotsattackme, all one word together after Twitter. And then there's email, robotsattackshow@gmail.com. And finally, the one place for all of this stuff, robotsattack.me.
Alrighty. We got a PSA.
Are you an animal lover who wants to help homeless animals find their forever homes but have limited time to volunteer? Join San Jose Animal Advocates, a local nonprofit that is building a community network to help find loving, foster, and forever homes for pets in our local shelters. With your help, we can save countless animals. All it takes is a few clicks, and you can share their stories with your network of friends. It's easy. Join us at sjanimaladvocates.org or look for us on Facebook.
Alrighty, we're going to take another real quick music break and then come back with the core. I've got our topic for the night. All right, we'll be right back. More Robots Attack here on KCU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the Underground Sound.
You are now entering the core. Enjoy your stay.
All right, welcome back to Robots Attack here on KCU Santa Clara 103.3 FM, the Underground Sound. We are in the core, as the bumper has indicated, and I have our subject for tonight.
The core.
I'm going to be talking about Dungeons & Dragons because...
Oh, you nerd.
I know, but the question that I pose may change that.
Ooh.
I'm going to be talking about the 5th edition that is dropping this month and some of the manuals within the next few months.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about, there's an article here, it's not terribly long, I'm going to read it, that kind of goes through some of the changes from, they compare from 4th edition to 5th edition.
Okay.
And so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read it and then we'll get into our discussion. Dungeons & Dragons has been no stranger to reinvention. This story I grabbed from Polygon. The 5th edition of the game will officially begin its slow, months-long rollout later this month. With the release of the starter set, a kit which will include the bare-bones essentials of what you need to know to play a basic campaign. I do also believe they are releasing a PDF, a free PDF of like kind of some bare-bones rules and that sort of thing, so you can kind of check it out.
Yeah, I saw something like that. It goes like to level 20.
Yeah. Then, as the months roll along, the player's handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual will also be released, as they've done in the past. The game has shifted in the past 4 decades, bouncing between different rules sets, philosophies, and methods of play. Role-playing, character customization, and real-life improvisational storytelling has always been at the game's core, but how those ideas are interpreted by the game system has changed drastically edition to edition. What was 4th edition like? The most recent version of D&D Rules, 4th edition, which changed the franchise for better or worse, depending on who you're talking to something more akin to a board game. More than ever before, procedural rules, particularly in combat, were codified. Players relied largely on the powers allotted to their class to execute the most damage and strategic advantage as possible during their turn. Before a battle even started, you knew what your party was capable of. Improvising or role-playing in combat was possible, but rarely as effective or rewarded as using your best pre-selected power, which is different from what we're more familiar with, the 3rd edition and 3.5, which seem to allow a little more for kind of,
resolving things without violence.
Well,
but just...
There was a lot more, like, individualization of each character. There wasn't, like... There was less specifics, like, because all the extra feat books, you could create some really weird characters.
Yeah. The changes made the game far more inviting to an audience of video game enthusiasts. Like a video game, its mechanics, player abilities, and progression systems were almost entirely determined by the game itself. While the multitude of options afforded to players by the game wasn't lacking, in quantity or variety, longtime D&D players found the system too restrictive and far less imaginative than past editions. Moreover, playing without miniatures and game boards using theater of the mind was nearly impossible, considering the number of abilities reliant on specific player positioning. For example, many wizard spells affected an area represented by a grid of, say, 9 squares. That's a difficult concept for a dungeon master to reflect in a battle that he or she is describing rather than physically representing for the players. So what's new in 5th edition? Conceptually, the 5th edition of D&D is moving away from that board game-centric aesthetic towards a system that allows players to carry out their game in any way they'd like. Players who enjoyed the strategic specificity of the miniatures and boards can use those with the game's rules, but groups who'd rather stick to the spoken word are able to have it their way too. Where 4th edition equipped each class from fighters to wizards with their own slate of, quote, powers, many of which had positional requirements or specific targeting rules, the new edition pares down the list of abilities afforded to most classes. Replacing those hardwired abilities are systems that allow players to get creative in combat, letting them improvise weapons in the environment, hamper foes, or lend aid to their teammates without requiring them to bust out a specific power they've unlocked during their journey. To put it simply, in 4th edition, a fighter might use a preset power to sweep the legs out from under an enemy. In the next edition, a player controlling that fighter might tell the DM that they're going to attempt to grab an enemy's ankles and try to pull them to the ground. In 4th edition, the description of that power determines what would happen in a successful attempt. In the new edition, that determination is up to the DM. How is the new edition built for creativity? One of the most fascinating new mechanics that will help emphasize this kind of creativity is advantage and disadvantage. Their implementations is simple. Whenever a player with advantage attempts an action in combat or during exploration, instead of rolling a 20-sided die or d20 to determine their success, they roll 2 d20s, using the higher roll as their result. For any check where you have disadvantage, you roll 2 d20s and are forced to use the lower result. With advantage and disadvantage, DMs now have 2 simple mechanical ways to interpret the creative actions that players might try to take. A clever ranger tries to scale a tree to get the higher ground on a wave of goblins. Give them advantage for as long as they're up there. A foolhardy rogue gets stuck in a spider web while fighting a zombie. Give them disadvantage until they manage to get free. There's now kind of moving on to skill checks. Skill checks are a returning mechanic in the new version of D&D, but these have also been streamlined significantly. In 4th edition, you had to choose which skills you wanted to train in, like perception, dungeoneering, or diplomacy, and how many points you wanted to assign to each. In the new edition, each of those scores is tied to one of your 6 core character stats: strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma. In 4th edition, when checking whether you can successfully sneak up on an unsuspected guard, a player would roll a d20, adding the result to their stealth ability score, and check that total against the target number. In the new edition, you would add your dexterity modifier, a stat broadly applied to all dexterous actions, both in and out of combat, instead. The idea of specializing in certain skills still exists, however, in the new edition's proficiency system. Players can be proficient in all kinds of stuff, weapon or spell categories, skills, tools, and so on. Rather than assigning each of your areas of expertise a unique score, your character just has 1 proficiency bonus, a number applied to all your proficiencies. For example, if your level 1 rogue is talented with daggers, stealth, and sleight of hand, whenever you make a roll for one of those skills, you would add your character's proficiency bonus, which starts off at +2 and increases as you level. So it's kind of like in 3rd edition, it was kind of similar
Yeah,
in sense. So it kind of sounds like they're going back to some of the stuff that was in 3 and 3.5.
Right.
Yeah, which makes me a little bit happy because like 4th Ed was sounded really interesting as an overall system. Like it seemed like it was a little bit awkward in certain ways compared to 3, although grappling was still a pain in 3.
Yeah. So there's more to the article. I'll post it. You can read the rest. But the question I'm posing is, it sounds like they're trying to, like with 4th edition, they were reaching out to more of that video game crowd, like the MMO crowd, trying to make things, instead of visual just in your mind, like actually literally visual on the board and seeing it. with this new edition, it sounds like they're trying to. You can still use that, or you can kind of go back to the classic, like Theater of the Mind that it mentions.
Uh-huh.
My question is, do you think D&D is still relevant to this kind of newer generation? Do you think this new edition will bring in new and older players, or do you think D&D has kind of had its time?
I think there's a lot of room for it to have a really big resurgence. I don't know if it really died back all that much under 4th edition, but
No, as near as I can tell, 4th edition brought in a bunch of different players. It just it did alienate some of the older players a bit, near as I can tell.
But it actually kind of reminds me more of a thing that I'd seen online that I think I'd told you guys about once before, that it was talking about the shift that's going to happen in another like 5-10 years just because of the Minecraft crowd. And it's something that we at our age, we can't relate to quite as much, just because, I mean, Minecraft is cool in a lot of ways, but to have something that somebody is spending just unlimited amounts of time on and is taking a lot of time to craft something from scratch, that's something that we're not used to in, like, from our standpoint all that much, just because
I don't know. We had some pretty epically long character creation time.
Well, no. I'm talking about just as I should have specified, as far as like the video game culture.
Okay.
Like, so the switch from Mario Brothers, for instance, where it's all about like skill and getting your speed and timing right, all the way up to shooters, which have kind of become the big new standard in a lot of ways. It's all about action and like keeping people roped in, whereas Minecraft doesn't even try to do that to you whatsoever. And so since Minecraft is so popular, and it's really popular with younger kids, that's something that we have to adjust to quite a bit for how we look at practically everything, including, I think, D&D. And it makes a lot of sense that batch of kids would really latch on to this system really well, the upcoming system. But that said, I'm not completely sold that it's better than the system that we kind of adopted either. So
I what made me think when I was reading this is I think I mean I don't really have any like proof to back this up, but it feels like something like D&D that maybe, say, like 10 years ago, if you said you played D&D, it would be kind of looked down upon, as far as like, I mean, you know, like feeling like, oh, I play video games.
Right.
Okay. For most people, like, oh, that's cool. Or, you know, there's still some out there who are like, oh, you play video games, like you're a loser, blah, blah, blah. But it's become way more accepted.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like sort of the same way with D&D, or, you know, even not specific D&D, but any sort of like
role-playing game system.
Yeah, it's not so much the smelly hippie game that it was sort of labeled in the past. It's
become like the Starbucks version of that smelly hippie game. In a weird sort of way.
It seems it seems like, because I mean, I guess that's sort of a little bit example. Like there's some people at IGN that play like Pathfinder. They play a Pathfinder game, and I see them like tweet pictures and stuff that they play on their lunch break or that sort of thing. And there's people on there that like typically you wouldn't really think like they would play that sort of game. I mean, it's not a good thing to think that way, but you know, it's just like, whoa, I never would have guessed you played Pathfinder and liked it. You know, so
listen, people, it's okay to like be surprised but that someone is like into your stuff too.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kind of throwing out there. It's like you
shouldn't judge other people just because.
Well, and that's the thing too about this sort of stuff. I mean, people don't realize that they could be into this game until somebody forces them into it.
And they try it. They kind of got into that a little bit with the Freaks and Geeks show, like that episode where
Carlos the dwarf.
Carlos the dwarf. It's like because these role-playing games almost more than any other are about what you put into the game, what you bring to it, makes it that much better for you and everybody else involved.
Yeah. And I see too that like kind of, you mentioning with about kids kind of growing up with Minecraft, sort of like how we grew up with Mario Brothers.
Right.
Now they're kind of growing up with Minecraft. And it's kind of like the people who are, around our age or maybe a little bit older, even some younger, that are having kids and stuff too that are, nerds, quote unquote.
Right.
And maybe played D&D or were just way more open about, quote, nerd stuff. It I don't know, to me, again, I don't really have anything to back this up except just maybe just going to certain cons or just talking with more people. That idea of like, I never would have expected you to play this sort of game is kind of slowly disappearing.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more like, I think, I guess, as a hope, I really hope that 5th edition actually does really well and gets like a bunch of new people playing, because I would totally be down for playing again. Like I'm kind of been jonesing to play again, and this sort of seems like it could be what 3.0 and 3.5 kind of when we sort of jumped back in to it. Like this could be like another chance to kind of jump back in again and try something a little new, but maybe have a little familiarity to it. Like,
and like it feels like this time around, like they it's almost like they experimented with 4. Like let's really push it like really hard one way and see what happens, and it worked, but it wasn't quite what they were looking for. And so they're like, okay, well, people are still playing Pathfinder. Pathfinder's still really popular.
Yeah,
there's still people selling lots of 3.5 books and materials. So there's still a market for that style of gameplay. Maybe we should bring a little bit of that back in, like figure out how we can streamline it, because like sometimes you would get stuck in battle trying to figure out how this is working.
Yeah.
But like, but streamline it down so it's not endless rolling, but it's also not dead.
Yeah. And I like this. Maybe there's more to it, but just sort of from the article, I like kind of, if you have an idea of something and proposing it to the DM and kind of letting the DM sort of decide, with like the advantage and the disadvantage. So like, well, okay, I want to try that. And it's like, all right, does it seem like, instead of like, okay, I need to go and find a rule for tripping this guy or doing this sort of thing, instead of just like, does it sound easier, logical, like something that my character could do, or this situation, and like just making it more imaginative, more fun, like
more spontaneous.
Yeah.
And also like, I like that idea a lot personally, because having been on both sides of the gaming screen, the GM side and the player side, like never underestimate the creativity of your players.
Yeah.
They will always find something that will surprise you, and if the rules are designed around the creativity of both people, players and GM, that will, I think that's going to make it a lot more fun for everybody involved. Yes, your GM now has to do a lot more than just be like a accountant keeping track of the spreadsheet, but now like I know it seems to me like it raises the level of participation to everybody in the game, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and it sounds like it's been interesting too. I've met some more people lately that are into sort of the less popular, smaller role-playing games, like the tabletop style. And it's interesting because it sounds to me like their main complaint about D&D and kind of its spin-offs like Pathfinder and whatnot is that it has all of those rules, and it becomes way too complicated, and almost the complaint is that it's well thought out. But the bad part about that is that it does end up making you feel like if you had what you thought was a cool idea, you have to back it up with a set of rules.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those other smaller quote unquote games, they don't really force you to do that because those rules don't exist. And so I think that's something that D&D has picked up on and tried to fix a little bit.
Yeah, because like what the GURPS exists, and GURPS is basically a glorified like spreadsheet because it's got a rule for pretty much everything you could do, and that's sort of why it exists in and of itself. It's the generic role-playing game system, GURPS. And like you can import characters from pretty much any other game universe into this game, which made it kind of cool in that way. It was like a metaverse, but it also meant that your GM book is like it is like a physics.
It's a
book.
Library.
War and Peace.
Yeah, it's War and Peace as a rule book, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Not that that's bad. Like it is a very particular type of game.
Yeah.
And like I think part of it is like in some ways the success of the White Wolf gaming system, which was about telling stories and then balancing it with dice to kind of like, do you actually how grandly or do you accomplish or botch this?
Yeah.
Has like started to seep into other gaming systems as a mechanic, and also the Fate system I think is gotten a lot of fan acclaim these days, and it uses only 6 dice, and it kind of just fudges your player's ability. It's like there's not a whole lot of there's not as many like action rules. There's just turns, and then you describe your action to the DM and explain why this should be the way it is, and then your GM figures if that's works or not, and if it's a stretch, then the dice come in to like, well, through force of will or because of this aspect of your character, you can now do more. Yeah. So it sounds like they've kind of pulled a little bit of that and a little bit of this into D&D, and I think it's kind of exciting to see where that's going to go.
Yeah. It sounds like kind of what they were hoping 4th edition would have done, bringing in kind of a broader audience, quote unquote, even though it sounded like they were kind of targeting more of that video game MMO kind of player. That I think 5th edition, I mean, again, having not tried any of it myself, but hearing from people and just sort of reading about it, like the article and whatnot, this sounds like it might have a better chance of what they were trying to accomplish, and kind of getting the idea out there that like it's not so nerdy to maybe play D&D or something akin to this. Like I think we'll start to see more and more. I mean, they have I'm pretty sure like at Comic-Con or something, they have like at some of the other hotels and other things, like just, D&D or other games like set up to go and play and everything. I mean, obviously it's like Comic-Con, so it's like a bunch of everything, and it's like, nerds are going to be there, but you're just starting to see more and more people actually try what in the past they probably like, well, I'll go as far as like video games or something like that, but there seems to be kind of this more and more resurgence of like board games or games and stuff like that. And I think some of that kind of probably has to do with games like Minecraft or things that don't rely so much on like actual visuals, like just like, oh, these graphics are amazing or this or that, but they pull people in, like, from what I hear, people who play Minecraft like love to play it with their friends or a group, like sit together and do that sort of thing. Yeah, so it's like that lends well to board games and that sort of thing, where it's sort of bringing it back, and you can kind of see a lot of the game, like video games coming out. They're like it's local co-op or small group co-op, so it's there seems to be kind of that resurgence of that kind of couch co-op or that small group of your friends like coming back together. That
like when we all played The Cave, it's very, like that was a fantastic little game, and it's kind of the same idea. It also happened to look really good, but like but it was about playing the game together with your friends, figuring out the puzzle together, jumping around the screens and stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes purposely annoying them.
Well, that's also part of it. Just as long as you don't go too far down the troll path. And a little annoyance is one thing, hampering the game is another.
But I
that didn't happen, just to be clear.
But I posted up the article on our Facebook page. Check it out. I posed the question: is D&D still relevant? I think it is. I think with this new edition, they've got a good shot to reach out even further. But I think that's going to do it for the show tonight. On behalf of myself, Caleb, and Jason, I want to thank you for listening. I think it was a good show.
Indeed.
And of course, we'll be back next Thursday from 6 to 8 with more Robots Attack. And Caleb, I know it's the end of the show,
Yes.
and we say like, oh, you can participate, and they're like, shoot, it's too late. It's at the end. But it's not too late.
It's never too late.
You can participate in the roll credits.
Yeah. Yes, the credits are maybe rolling, but you can still put your 2 cents in. You can find us on Facebook, like we've been saying. We are Robots Attack Show. Facebook.com/Robots Attack Show. That's our new URL. I'm getting used to saying that one. That's really new. Then we are Robots Attack Me, all one phrase, on Twitter. And then our email address is robotsattackshow@gmail.com. And finally, if you just want to like catch up on things we've talked about before, find out what other cool things we're working on, check out robotsattack.me.
Alrighty, that's going to do it. Thanks again for listening and tuning in. Check out those episodes and everything else. If you have some topic ideas, shoot us an email or a tweet or a Facebook comment as well.
Yes, please.
And we will do our best to read them and consider them and all of that.
And honor them.
And honor them with honoring robot-y ways.
Right.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you. Well, we won't see you literally, but
we'll talk at you.
Yeah, we'll talk at you.
Don't tell them that.
Not yet. We have cameras in your car.
When you sleep. It's the fish. Stacking the fish hooks.
It's just the fish. All right. We'll see you all next week. Remember, do something nice for someone who isn't expecting it, because that's a cool thing to do.
Indeed.
All right. We are out of here.
Black Tooth, Barada, Nikto.